So, as Gabriel already told you, my name is Daniel Kohler. I studied computer science here in Basel before I graduated last year. During my students' time, I continuously worked at the medical faculty. And one of my last assignments actually was the design of the BeAXi iPad client. And it started with David coming to me one day and said, "Hey, I think we're doing e-assessments. What do you think?" And I said, well, are we using iPads? He said, "Yeah, we're not figured that out so far." Okay. And I said, "I'll help you if you do it on iPads." So, and that's what you are actually here for today, I guess, the BeAXi iPad client and BeAXi itself. And I think one of the questions that immediately arises is, why iPads? Why not assessment PCs? Because many institutions use them. So why iPads? Is it because they're cheap? No, sorry, is it because they're fancy? Maybe. For me, it was that part, yeah. Is it because they're cheap? Maybe, certainly an argument. But I think one of the most reasonable arguments is the picture right there. It's an extract from the 20 Minutes newspaper, and I hope you can see it in the back as well. The thing we see there is just one keyword. It's mobility. So I could literally take this iPad right here, walk out of the room, and do my exam just anywhere, maybe outside, where it's hopefully sunny right now. Of course, it wouldn't work for legal reasons, but from a logistics point of view, it would definitely be a good idea. And some of the points I'm mentioning here were already told by Gabriel Vogt, but still I think we can't emphasize them too many times. So we don't actually need specific rooms. You all have your iPads here. You can do the exam just where you are now. We don't need specific rooms with air conditioning, power supply, whatever. You can do it anywhere. And because assessment PCs actually are creating a lot of heat, that's why you need the air conditioning. That's why you have to build rooms that are very large and very cost expensive. Because I recently heard about a room they've built in Austria, I guess, for like 150 assessment PCs. And I think they paid several millions for that. So it would be really great if you don't need that anymore. Yeah, with the iPad, the most heat-generating factor, I think, would be the nervously sweating students you have. Of course, you also you don't need power source. We had that. I guess there's no explanation anymore necessary. We tested the iPads actually running the BeAXi client for one full working day. They were running, backupping all the times, and they run for actually 8 hours, and they still got 20% of batteries left. So I think that works for almost every assessment you're going to take. And the third part is you don't need a wireless network or any network at all. You can have one, because if you have one, you can continuously back up your data to Amazon S3, as David will tell you, or to an FTP server or whatever, but you actually won't need it, because every iOS application got its own data store where you can store the exam data, and it's so unlikely that the iPads break down. Actually, we hadn't had that case so far. So it's very unlikely, but if you want to be on the safe side, just connect them to a wireless. If the iPad, for some reason, breaks down, you just replace it by another one, and the student can continue where he left off. Then, the deployment. We have, luckily, several devices here that are used for deployment, gracefully brought to us by Ingeno Data. Thank you very much at this point. And that's why I don't want to go too much into detail about deployment. It's just, we talked about mobility. We can place in this large cart, I guess, 32 iPads, which makes it very easy to transport a large amount of iPads there. And yeah, that's basically what I want to say here. For our needs, we currently have around 200 iPads, which we deploy in less than 30 minutes. And that's also a good thing if you make errors by the deployment, which can certainly happen. So what you're going to do is you just redeploy them. 200 iPads in less than 30 minutes. That's nothing, isn't it? Yeah, and the exam data that are stored on the iPad makes it really independent of all other components. So actually, you could use your own text editor. If you know how the structure of the exam works like, you can just put your exam together with a text editor, put it on the iPad, and go have your examination. That's it. You wouldn't need the BeAXi manager and stuff. Of course, you will need it because it's great, but yeah, in theory, you wouldn't need it at all. You're so independent. And another great thing, because this thing here is a multimedia device, you can actually plug in other peripheral devices, like, for example, headphones, which are a very good idea if you have multimedia in your exam and you want the students to listen to video files, audio files. Then you would certainly need headphones in order to not disturb other students, of course. And that's an example of how we used the iPad with other peripheral devices. You see the headphones, and you see a keyboard, which is around twice the size of the iPad, actually, so I think there's room for improvement. But yeah, it's possible to put on an external keyboard, because I don't know how many of you try to type on an iPad a larger or a longer text, and it can be a very tedious task. I personally do not like it. It's okay for simple keywords and stuff, but not for larger essays, definitely not. Sounds pretty good so far, doesn't it? But I think there are more serious topics to be taken care of, and one is definitely security, because this is, in fact, a tough topic. And as you maybe realize, tough is definitely not correctly spelled here, and that's not because we want to make advertisements for this German television celebrity show, whatever. No, it's because there are actually 4 keywords we're using here. And they're not here yet. They are now. The first is theft. So we want to make sure that the data we're exchanging with the servers are not stolen. So what we do is we do encrypt the data on the iPad itself. There are great cryptographic libraries. We do encrypt the data itself, and not only using a secured connection. That's a very important difference, because then it's also actually no problem if we store it on Amazon S3, which could be in the US or somewhere where it's a completely different legal region. If the data is encrypted, it's not a big of an issue, is it? Second one is appeal, and whenever you get in a legal dispute, you have to make sure that your data is actually valid. So let's say you want to sign the data because you want to make sure that it's really this student that has submitted the exam data and it hasn't been changed afterwards, after handing it in. And we do that by not only encrypting the data, but also signing with a key that only the student who has performed the exam can create and sign the data with it. So to make sure we're on the safe side here. Then we have fraud, and fraud is also a topic that Gabriel explained a bit. Usually when you're doing exams on paper, you have an A version, a B version, maybe a C version as well, to make sure that the students cannot easily copy questions and memorize them, of course. And there we thought it actually would be great if we could completely randomize the question set. So for each and every student, different question set. And that's what we did, because on an electronic device it's actually easy, because you have the keys in the background where you know, you have the set of questions, and the order, it doesn't matter, because you get it back in an electronic form, you can order it and just do the evaluation as is. That's not as easy on a piece of paper. And the fourth point is failure. As I said, it's very, very unlikely that an iPad fails or completely breaks down. Maybe the application crashes, but that doesn't say that all the data is completely lost. It's really if the iPad completely breaks down, then we would have a problem. But we haven't had that so far. And to even be more sure that this doesn't happen, we have the connection to the wireless, where we completely, continuously, actually every 10 minutes, that's right, I guess, every 10 minutes? Okay, so whatever time you like, back up the data periodically to make sure if the iPad breaks down, you just take a new one, the student logs in again and continues where he left off. Usability and design, and I guess the Apple guys here will disagree with me that this comes so late in my presentation, but it's definitely also an important point, because during an exam, this is quite a stressful situation for a student, and the least thing you want to do is bother him with an application that is so complicated that he has no clue how to use it. So you really only want the components he or she needs for performing the exam efficiently. And that's what we try to do. Or according to the evaluation, what we succeeded to do. Actually, if you open your iPad and take it in your hands, you could do all the navigation just with your thumbs, and that's completely unintentional. So maybe you cannot answer the question with your thumbs, except for if you got very long thumbs. But what you really can is navigate through the questions, handle the traffic lights, the jump navigation, all that stuff, just with your thumbs, and that's a very important key point there. What's also important or interesting if you have exams on paper is you can always take notes. Take your highlighter, mark words, set up a graph, do calculations, whatever. And we thought that also needs to be possible on the iPad solution, because if not, it will be a huge drawback. So what we did there is we allow the student to kind of create an invisible layer on top of the iPad where he or she can draw, mark words, do the graphs, do some mathematics, whatever. So just like a normal piece of paper. And then you can toggle it, you can either display it or display it not if you want to read your text again. And we'll see that immediately on a hands-on demonstration that we will go through together, actually. Yeah, that's this one just in a bit. First, what you do not have, and now we're switching to the iPad application, what you do not have on your version is the login screen, because it's a lighter version we gave you today, just that you can use the application and not bothering with other stuff, which is rather technical. So for the login procedure, we have actually two ways to go through. One is that you you put all the students you want to take place at the exam, you put them in the XML together with their matriculation number, and so you really allow only these students to log into the application. That's option one. Option two is that you have just an open exam, so anyone can take it, and you don't put anything there. And of course, as you see here, the students actually log in with their matriculation ID, with their name, and you can evaluate that later on. Okay, then before you begin the exam, we have this screen here. And that makes actually sure that all students start at the same time, because that's just for fairness reasons. I guess that's obvious. What you do there is you have a check tone, like to test if the headphones are working properly. There's a tone played continuously, and you want to test your keyboard. I guess you tested it already if you were able to log in, but just if there are any problems regarding the peripheral devices, you want to resolve them before you actually begin the exam. And that's what we made here. You really have to get the starting code from the staff member so that each and every student starts at the same time. Yeah. And this one is a nice feature as well. We built some small application, which I don't want to go into too much detail here, but a small monitoring application. So we can actually see each time, all the time, which students have already logged in, which student have completed their exam, and which student didn't do anything so far. And not that, but even, not only that, but even we do have the question statuses that they're marking with their traffic lights, so we could do a live evaluation. Of course, we're not really doing that, but it's also a kind of control that if something goes wrong, we're informed in the first place. Okay, and now I'm switching to the BeAXi application. And if you like, you can also take yours at hand now, and I will show you a few features just live here. Maybe? Yes. Seems good. So that's the screen. I guess till now most of you have seen that. You have in the top right corner, you have these traffic lights where you can indicate on your level of certainty on the question. So let's say I'm at this question here. I have made a few ticks, but still I'm not really sure on what I've answered. So I put the orange tick here. And what immediately comes into mind is this colorful status bar on the top, where we have green colors, orange colors, red colors, dark gray and light gray. This is actually an indicator on the marking of your questions. So I have marked here a few questions already, and it tells me, okay, you have 2 questions which you're perfectly certain, you have 4 which you're not so sure right now, 2 that you are 2 questions which you think you are definitely wrong, and there is 1 question that you have answered, in fact, but you haven't ticked any of the traffic lights. And the remaining 6 are the ones that I haven't even looked at or not given an answer so far. And what you also see on the left bar, which is colored orange right now, it immediately reflects the light you've put on. So if I put green here, it changes the color. And not only that, but it also displays you on the bottom left on which examination you're working on, the type of question this current question is, and the topic of the question, as well as the question number. Yeah. And that's what I meant with a thumb navigation. If you put the iPad in your hands now, you can go to the next question by clicking on the top right. You go to the previous question by clicking on the top left. You can also swipe with your thumbs, just as you're used from other iOS devices. A very important and interesting feature is the pull-down bar right there, because in our exam we got around, 15 questions, which is not that much, but in a normal exam you would have 100 questions, 150, 200, whatever, even more. And then it becomes very unhandy to swipe through all the questions. So you really want something that you can, you are quick. You're quick to quickly able to go to the questions that you are really interested in. And here as well we have the colored marking of the questions, which tells me the level of certainty again. So I won't go to the green questions here. I'd rather go to the questions which I've not answered so far, and I can quickly jump to this nice little kitty here, or to the end of the exam. Yeah, that's, and I can even search. So for a question set of more than 100 questions, this is a very interesting feature. If I want to see all the questions that are nicely formulated, I put in please here and get all these questions. Yes?
I think calls are very helpful, but did you test it with colorblind people? Because the gray values seem to be very near.
That's actually a very good point. I guess we did not test that, as far as I'm concerned. I'm actually colorblind too. So we did test it. No, I'm not completely colorblind, but
you cannot see it inside of the pull-down, but you can see it inside of the filter, and on the buttons they have different icons. If you click on the filter, then you can see that it is iconized. As you can switch off the red questions inside of the filter, we didn't place the icons there.
but that's definitely good input.
So if you use already their icons, perhaps you have not placed it, you can put them everywhere.
It was more difficult inside of the pull-down. Probably we should think about this.
Yeah, sorry? Which one? Yes, that's actually happening because we're only using 15 questions here, and it's set up for actually more. And then you would have, on this right side, you would have this fast scrolling that you know from your contacts application and so on. And it just does this indicator level. It does it itself. And if you only got 15 questions, it thinks, oh, I'm smart. I'll do 1 and 11.
No question zeros, you cannot start with zero.
It's all features. Yeah, talking about the filter. Let's say I'm pretty much finished with my exam, and I only want to see now the questions that I haven't answered, or actually have no status at all. So really the 6 ones that I've not visited yet. And what I put in the filter here immediately reflects in this pull-down menu as well. So you're really fast on going through the questions one more time before handing the exam definitely in. Hold on a second. Oh, of course, text analysis. That's what we haven't talked so far about it. And it's actually really easy. You have this button, markieren, on the right side. And if you click that, you have this invisible layer on the iPad. And you have a bar on the top where you can pick colors, you can pick the thickness of the pen you're using, And I can draw here, paint this. I'm actually a very bad painter, so I do simple stuff. Just do a little glass here, maybe emphasize the moustache a little more. Okay, and that's my annotation of the image now, which probably helps me answering the questions. Who knows? If I save it, this invisible layer disappears and allows me to read the text again or to look closer at the image. And whenever I need my annotations back, I just click this button again, and I get my annotations back. That's actually a very handy thing. Yeah, the button here, taking the notes. As we have seen in the evaluation, almost no one used it. So, yeah, you could write here that it's been a great exam, which I guess no one will ever write, but you could, or give some feedback, or just take your personal notes on a global scale. So it's not for each question individually, but it's like having your notepad besides the iPad. Yeah. No, I get, as far as I'm concerned, they have their own paper. Also because
Maybe they take their notes there.
they could, yeah, maybe they do. Maybe we can put this button away. I don't know. No, but the idea there is we have types of questions where the students need to draw something, and we don't want them to force to draw on the iPad. So we allow them also to draw on a piece of paper, and then you can easily, with the iPad, you take a picture and you hand this one in. So you're completely free to do that as well. With media questions in general, you always have this media button here, and you can attach all kinds of media to your questions, like images, videos, audio files, and everywhere where you have media, you have this media browser here, where you can get an overview on all the media that is attached on the question itself, and you can click on the media to go full screen, and which is also a very interesting feature, and I won't show it with this question because it doesn't make any sense. Hold on. Which one was it? Give me 1 second. Maybe this one here, cat's paw. Now I've got this media full screen, but I don't remember what the question was. Now I could continuously switch back to the question and switch back to the media again, which can be really annoying, and that's why we put transparency in it as well. So I could put here 50% transparency, so I can see actually what's on the image, or also what's on the video, and do read the question as well in parallel. And this can become very handy because there is the possibility to allow displaying the image while typing. So you can watch the video or whatever and continuously at the same time give the answer to the question. And that's a very handy feature, I guess, which allows you to be even more productive when answering the questions. Yeah, I guess that was it for the short demonstration. What I would like to do now, or almost now, is present the different types of questions we've. Come on. The different types of questions we've implemented so far. But before we do that, I want you to do some work for me, which is, in fact, to get together in groups, maybe of 2 or 3 people, and collect question types that you've used in your own exams, or maybe that you've used when you've written exams, or question types that you just heard of and think they're really clever. Just different ways of how you could examine students. And I guess we'll have around 5 minutes for that, not too long. And afterwards I will go through the question types that we have implemented in the BeAXi iPad client so far. I guess for these questions we have the yellow papers. Yeah. Okay, I think 5 minutes are over. Please hand in your exams. You will be graded afterwards. No, of course not. But what would be nice is if you put all the sheets that you've put notes on the right-hand side, on the left-hand side from your point of view, and David will collect them. Yeah, this left here. Okay, so I will go briefly through a few question types that we have already implemented in the BeAXi iPad client, and I will really do it briefly because you have the iPad application on your desk, and most of the question types are right there. You can take a closer look at them if you like. This is really just for an overview. So we started with a most simple question one could think of. It's a question, a bunch of answers, one is true, that's it. So single choice answer. Then a little more advanced type of this is the multiple choice, which doesn't change very much. It's just the answers that can be either true or false. You have to give an answer to every item. Then there is the long menu question, which consists of a question text field where you actually search for the answer you're looking for. So it means you need to have a clue on what the answer could actually be, because this list is usually so large that it's not feasible to go through all the items. So you search for the item you think is correct, which would look something like this, and you pick the right item, and that's it. Then the short text answers, where you want the students to give an answer in the form of a few words, maybe even only keywords. And the interesting thing about this question is that you can really limit the amount of words that is allowed to be told, because if you pose a question like this, you can be sure that there are always students which write essays. Yes?
For the longer menu type question, can you hide the list?
Hide?
You see there's some answers, and you see the list below the field where you type your.
You mean like that the list only gets displayed if you, like, for example, put in 3 letters or something like this? Actually.
Not in this question type. It is supported in long many marking image, but not here. Because this is meant for long many answers where you have 200 diagnoses and you have not enough time to read through it. So it doesn't matter if it's shown. So you have to filter it to a different answer.
Yes?
Im Long Menü muss man einen auswählen. This is automatically corrected. If you have have something where you write the text in. The examiner has to correct it. I will show how it works inside of the server.
Okay, talking about essays, we have the long text question, where there's really also the need of this invisible overlay can become handy, where you can mark the key features in the text and stuff before also giving the answer in a rather long text format. Yeah, sorry.
Another question concerning long text. Is it also possible to handwrite the text and then take a picture and the software can shape that into a readable form, for example, on a whiteboard, so it's also possible?
That's not possible so far, as I'm concerned, because the idea with the long text question was to do the evaluation. Of course, you need to analyze the text yourself. We don't have a program that does it by now. But there are studies, I guess, that machine-written text is actually easier readable than handwritten text. Yeah, and it makes sense, I think.
I agree. The question is more like if the student is to argue that he has difficulty to write on a keyboard and it's just quicker by hand. So you could argue that he's in a disadvantage. And actually, you're more kind of testing his abilities of handling the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Giving a good answer. So that's where I see a
Okay.
possibility to be able to do the same thing with drawing.
Yeah. So
Such questions could be handled with that draw question type, because inside of the draw question type you can't
Exactly.
take a photo or a sheet of paper, but you can do it inside of the long text. You could make two questions which are block questions, then you will explain what the block question is, and then you could either do the image or write text.
And we will see the draw question as well, just in a bit. We had the single choice question, and this multimedia single question is actually just an ancestor of it. You have different types of media which you have to look at. One type is correct, the others are not. And follow up, the same with multiple, where you have different types of media and you have to give an answer on all the items. Then we have image keyword, which is like the one with the, yeah, sorry.
The time before, what happens if you don't select that it's not correct? If you don't make a choice, because here you have it's true or it's false.
Mm-hmm.
And if you check nothing,
Then it's wrong, I guess, in the evaluation.
So I was looking at the sheet of paper.
The question was, if you have this type of question, multimedia, multiple,
Yes.
and you don't pick an answer for any item, what happens in the evaluation?
Yeah, then it's false.
because here the question indicates that you only have to select the right ones. And that one is incorrect.
Okay. Yeah, that's right.
The text of the
That's right.
questions is not correct. That may
So
be
you have
true, yes.
to be very careful.
Yes, if it would be on a single choice, you would have only one button.
The
So
thing
if
here,
you have the button, probably you should have here some introduction text that says you have to choose for every answers, then it would be clear. You can write the text inside of the question.
the thing is also, this question only gets marked as answered if you put an item, if you ticked something anywhere. So if you missed one item, for example, that question will still be light gray, and you will see that in the end when going through all your questions again. Then we got the image keyword type question, where you have specific spots marked on an image, and you click on one of the spots, and you have a list of items which you can choose from. This is one variant of this image keyword. Another variant is like with the little kitty we have, that there's a free text area, and you put in something and you save it. Of course, this demands manual correction for the evaluation. but that will be possible as well. Or you have a mixture of both. Like, you need to type in, for example, 3 letters before getting a list of possible answers. So you need to have some kind of a clue on what you're looking for. Then we have a simple show an image question, where you have an image and you need to indicate something, like here the tongue of this lion, which is a very straightforward question type. Coming back to single and multiple question, we also have question types for matrices. Like here, for example, whenever you put a tick somewhere, it automatically disables all the buttons in the same column and in the same row. So it really makes sure you're only ticking one tick per item. Sorry. And the same with multiple. I guess we've seen that in the demo, which is quite some work to do. If you got a 4x4 matrix, you got 16 questions to answer. Cool stuff. And then the draw question, maybe referring back to your question with the text, where the task is actually to draw something or to do a calculation by hand. I don't know anything, draw a graph, whatever. And actually, it wasn't me who drew that picture, because if I did, you wouldn't recognize that this is a bird. Yeah, that's just like drawing works. It's similar to this invisible overlay you can put on the iPad. You just have a few more features here. Then the last question types is the block question, and for this type, I'm going to switch back to the application again, because it's kind of hard to explain only in words what this question types consist of. Yeah, of course. I have to find it. Yes. No. Here. Hold on. That's the demo effect. Exactly. The block questions are questions that always appear in a block. So even if your questions are fully randomized, you got these block questions all together. So if I go to this question, it tells me, oh, this question is dependent actually on its predecessor, so I have to go back and answer this question first. And it tells me here, oh, please think twice because the following question is dependent on this one, and if you gave an answer, you won't be able to go back. You can go back, but you cannot change your answer. So what I do now, I've got this question blocked here. I answer some text here, and go to the next question, and then I have the follow-up question. And if I go back now, you can see that, well, you can't see it, but I'm really clicking here, and nothing happens because the question is disabled now. So this goes in the direction of script concordance questions, where you really build up your question set and go in different direction based on the answers the students gave in their previous questions. Okay. So thank you very much for your attention, and we'll see you around at the apéro.